GOP candidates have been in Texas this week, campaigning ahead of the primary election next Tuesday and ahead of the GOP debate in Houston on Thursday. A lot going on for election season here in the Lone Star State. Our coverage partners at the Texas Tribune, along with the University of Texas researchers, they've been polling Texas voters about their picks in the Republican primary. Here are the results of that. According to the Tribune's polling, Ted Cruz has an 8-point lead over Donald Trump, who's got a 14-point lead over Marco Rubio. Bush, Kasich, Carson, all in the single digits. Bush, of course, now we know has dropped out of the race. Some of those other candidates who are still on the ballots barely registered on this poll. But as for others, what do these poll numbers mean here in the thick of early voting and just 1 week from Super Tuesday itself? What do these poll numbers really mean? So here to break down those results is Ross Ramsey, executive editor of the Tribune, joining us from Austin. Ross, first look at these numbers. Is this a home field advantage situation for Ted Cruz?
Yeah, it's close. It's nationally, it's kind of an even race. Trump has got the upper hand and won the last two states. Cruz is on his heels a little bit. He's hoping when he comes home to Texas that he can show some strength. The problem for him is that this is closer than he would like for it to be. Donald Trump has got a following in Texas, as it turns out, and Ted Cruz has to maintain this relatively narrow lead through Tuesday to get anything to brag about.
So he would like a bigger, well, of course, he would always like a bigger lead. Interesting there. These poll numbers, presumably they would best translate to a popular vote. So how will they affect the actual number of delegates that each candidate is going to end up getting from Texas?
The delegate thing's complicated. There's 155 Republican delegates available in Texas. If you get more than 50% statewide, you win 47 of those. And the rest of them are determined in each of the 36 congressional districts. They couldn't have made it more complicated if they'd tried. But what it means is that second and third place can be worth some delegates. It's very, very hard to have a winner-take-all situation. So second place will certainly get delegates. Even third place might get some delegates out of the congressional districts.
Wow, so even if Cruz maintains this 8-point lead in the primary election itself, it doesn't mean he's walking away with all of those delegates. Interesting. Hey, we've heard reports.
And Trump will get almost as many.
Will get almost as many, even with that kind of popular vote. All right, you're right. That is a little complicated. We have heard reports, speaking of those voters, of low voter turnout so far in early voting. Any idea why this might be and how these candidates are going to be trying to get out the vote in Texas?
You never know. The voters have a bunch of elections packed up here, and they're not participating, obviously, in the elections in Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina and Nevada, but some voters want to see all of those results before they vote. Our poll was done right up to the eve of South Carolina. We got some new information out of there. As you said, Jeb Bush has gotten out of the race. In fact, a lot of people who've gotten out of the race are going to be on the Texas ballot. So if you have a favorite down there that has gotten out, you can still salute to them on the way out. But a lot of voters wait until the end. So one theory is that we're going to get a big turnout because of the fight, and a lot of voters are waiting. Another theory is that we're just going to get a regular turnout in spite of the contest.
Sure. Wow. So voters may not have even made up their minds yet. Heck, we've got this debate coming up here in a couple of days, and there is still plenty of opportunity to change Texas voters' minds. There's another interesting poll that you guys published. Let's check that out. Ross, what are some of these things? It's looking at what people like about certain candidates over other candidates. So let's look at Cruz versus Trump. Why would folks be voting for Cruz over Trump here in Texas?
Well, what we did was ask people what the most important thing was on their mind when they chose the candidate that they chose. They tended to choose Cruz for things like his electability in November. The number one thing for Trump, I thought, was going to be immigration. It turned out to be improving the economy. They thought, he was the guy to do that. Another thing that I thought would do really well here that didn't do really well was I voted because I wanted to shake up American politics. Trump did okay there, but it wasn't the main reason people are voting for him. They're voting for him for other reasons.
And yet that is a lot of the platform that he's run on, is he's here to shake things up. I agree with you, though, that it's interesting that they're still looking to him for financial reasons. Ross Ramsey from the Texas Tribune, those poll numbers you guys put out are give us a great insight into where Texas voters' heads are at right now. But of course, we don't really know until Tuesday. So thank you so much for joining us, shedding a little light on that.
Thank you.
All right, stick with us.
Take care.
We will be right back with more First News at 4 right after the break.